Hello, UMA students. This is Heather Mazurowski. I am one of the instructors at UMA, and I have been an instructor at UMA for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in January. I have been a teacher for 26 years, almost 27. So I am here today to talk to you about conclusions, and that would be the conclusion paragraph of an essay. So I'm going to take myself off screen in a few seconds because I wanted you to see my face and my name and possibly maybe put together some familiarity. And then I will come back at the end. Okay, so a typical essay structure. Over on the right-hand side, I use this image from your textbook of the typical structure of an essay is an opening, a middle, and an ending, or what I like to call introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. And you can see that over on the left where I say a typical essay will have 5 paragraphs, an introduction, which they refer to as the opening, 3 body paragraphs, which they refer to as the middle, and a conclusion, or they refer to it as the ending. But in this video, we are only going to talk about the conclusion. Okay, so within the image that was on the previous slide, they have things such as that would belong in your conclusion. They have reassert the main point, remind the reader of the purpose and rephrase the thesis statement, urge the reader, and gain the reader's acceptance and look ahead. Now, those are certainly the criteria for the conclusion. However, on the right-hand side, what I have done is put it into my words that I often use over the many years of teaching English and composition. So I like to think of the criteria as rephrase your thesis statement. And if as a reminder or as a refresher, if you remember, the thesis statement is the one that is the last sentence in your introduction, and it is the sentence that states the topic and the 3 main ideas. The next part of your conclusion will be to summarize your main ideas. And when you summarize those main ideas, it should be in a couple sentences. It should not be just another sentence almost very similar to your thesis. It should be an actual, to give some summary of what your main ideas talked about. Now, maybe it is one sentence, and that's okay, as long as it summarizes your main ideas and is not just another rephrase of your thesis. Finally, you want to end with a statement, message, or thought for your reader. And so that would be like the idea of maybe urging your reader or gaining the reader's acceptance and look ahead. So that would be your ending statement, where you leave some type of a message with your reader, a thought, something that, is good for them to take away from what you've written. Now, the last thing that I added is not necessarily a criteria, but it is something to keep in mind. You do not want to add new information to your conclusion, because just as the word conclusion means, you are ending this essay. So you don't want to bring up any new points because you're not going to discuss them any further. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. You don't want to bring any new ideas into the conclusion. Okay, so what I like to think of as the last sentence of your conclusion is saving the best for last, if you will. So you want to think about, oftentimes when we read books and we always talk about the ending, or we see a movie and we talk about the ending. Typically, that's what we remember the most because it is the culmination of everything. It's the message, it's the thought, it's the idea. It's what we usually take with us from the movie, the book, or in our sense, the writing. So again, I have on there. So I like to think of the last sentence of the conclusion to be saving the best for last. You can end with a thought-provoking statement or quotation, as this helps to really clarify the point of your writing. So sometimes we like something that maybe the quotes that are common knowledge that many use. The no pain, no gain. Those I'm just off the top of my head thinking of things that, maybe ideas, phrases that we often hear, that can apply to many different situations. That, can be good to end an essay with. It can be a thought-provoking statement, something that can really get your audience or your readers thinking. And again, we want to think of it when, seeing a movie or reading that book and at the ending, and we think, oh my goodness, I can't believe it ended that way. I wasn't expecting that. Or, or you walk away with the idea of, that really makes me think, kind of puts things into perspective. So that's what you want to think about when you're ending your writing. You want to leave your readers with a message that they can take away. Okay, now the next several slides, unfortunately, I felt as though I didn't know how to illustrate to you to develop a good conclusion without seeing an entire essay, because we don't know how to summarize our main points if we do not see all of the paragraphs. So I have provided in these next several slides an essay that I developed, which is a narrative essay about a personal experience of my own. And I will read it, not because I don't think that you can read it, but I just want you to hear it, maybe possibly, and then we can look at the conclusion to see, does it meet the criteria that we have, or that I discussed in the previous slide about rephrasing the thesis, summarizing the ideas, and then leaving the reader with either a quotation, a thought-provoking statement, some type of a message to take away. And then we also want to remember we want to make sure that there is no new information presented in the conclusion. So this is my narrative, or I guess we can even think of it as like a personal reflection narrative about the death of my father. And so this would be the introduction. So again, the last sentence now is going to be my thesis. So it says, when I was 19 years old, my father died after 8 agonizing months of cancer treatments. It was bladder cancer, and it was said to be the result of him smoking most of his life. Many questions began to arise among my family, including my father, such as, is it operable? Is there treatment? What is the prognosis? However, after removing the tumor and receiving chemotherapy, he died 8 months later. Losing a father at 19 is heartbreaking, maturing, and debilitating. Now, the next couple slides are going to be dealing with the body paragraphs of heartbreaking, maturing, debilitating. Okay, now the second paragraph on the right-hand side talks about maturing. The death of a parent at a young age can be instantly maturing. I was at the end of my freshman year in college, so my friends and I were selecting housing for the following year, which was an exciting time. However, I was not at all interested as I was worried about my own health. I was concerned for my mother, and what if something happened to her? I just wanted to be finished with school so I could take care of my mom and myself. Okay, now the last body paragraph is going to talk about debilitating. Maturing quickly at a young age after the death of a parent can unfortunately be very debilitating. Since I was not emotionally equipped to deal with my adult situation, I became very anxious and depressed. I required therapy and medicine to help me cope with my current circumstances. I almost did not complete school due to the struggles with depression and anxiety. Thankfully, with the support of family, friends, and professionals, I was able to persevere. So now we have my introduction, and now we have 3 body paragraphs talking about heartbreaking, maturing, and debilitating. Now we're going to look at the conclusion in the next slide, and we are going to decide, does it meet the requirements? Okay, so now we're going to look at the conclusion, and again, I'm going to read it because we want to make sure that it does in fact meet the criteria. So, losing a parent at the age of 19 is heartbreaking, maturing, and debilitating. It is so heartbreaking that you never forget the date or time, and the void is not repairable. Maturing at a young age can make current circumstances seem not as interesting because the focus is on adult matters. Debilitating depression and anxiety can result in therapy and the need for medication. Enjoy every moment with your parents, as losing them leaves a tremendous void that is not fillable. So now we want to think about, did I rephrase my thesis statement? Yes, I did in the very first sentence, almost exactly like the thesis statement that I had. And that's okay. Remember, it doesn't have to be a complete change of words because you don't want to run the risk of adding some new information in there. So you just want to tweak it a little bit. So losing a parent at the age of 19 is heartbreaking, maturing, and debilitating. I have rephrased or reused my thesis statement. All right, now here comes, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 sentences that summarize my main ideas. It is so heartbreaking that you never forget the date or time, and the void is repairable. And in my first paragraph, I talked about that it was March 17th, it was a Friday, and it was about 7:15 a.m. And at the end of that paragraph, I talk about that the void and the emptiness was not repairable. So no new ideas there. Maturing at a young age can make current circumstances seem not as interesting because the focus is on adult matters. In my second paragraph, I talked about that it was the end of my freshman year in college. We were selecting housing for our following year because the particular school that I attended, we could not live on campus. So it was a very exciting time. Yet, I was not interested because my focus was on my mother, my own health, what was going to happen after I was finished with school. So again, There are no new ideas there in talking about that idea. Debilitating depression and anxiety can result in therapy and the need for medication. In the paragraph where I talked about debilitating, I talked that I developed severe depression and anxiety that required therapy and medication in order to help me finish school and be able to go on with my life. So no new ideas there. Now, so no new ideas. Now, my final thought, or my final thought-provoking maybe message, says enjoy every moment with your parents, as losing them leaves a tremendous void that is not fillable. So that is my ending that I hope to leave with my readers. So this does meet the requirements. There's no new information in there. I rephrased my thesis and I left my readers with a thought. I think probably the two most difficult parts of the conclusion are the summarizing the ideas and making sure to not add new information. Sometimes when we summarize, we tend to add in other information about our topic. Not that the ideas aren't relevant, but remember, you don't want to bring anything new that wasn't already mentioned in the body paragraphs, because you're not going to discuss them any further. Okay, it is the final slide, and I'm back. So I hope that going through my lengthy essay of my own personal experience helped to clarify what a conclusion is and the important parts of it. And again, just to reiterate maybe the ideas, it seems as though one of the, as an English teacher or reading many essays, I often see the problem becomes in summarizing the main ideas and the adding new information. We tend to do that. Maybe when we summarize, we add some new information, and that is not where we want to do it. Another rule of thumb that I didn't discuss that I'll leave as part of these final thoughts is, if it is a type of 5-paragraph essay where you are providing research to support your ideas, you usually do not want to add any quotes in your conclusion, unless it is a quote that you're leaving your readers with, like a memorable or a known common knowledge, a quote such as the no pain, no gain. That could be something that you could do, but no quotes that require a cite or a source. I hope that's helpful. And of course, if you have any questions, please reach out to your instructor. We are always here to help you. And you can always reach out to the academic services, and their number is on the screen if you have any questions. And as the motivation, it says, who is the most awesome person today? And I do hope you feel that that is you. I hope that this video did help with clarifying what a conclusion is and helping you to write a conclusion and to knowing what criteria you need to add in there. Thanks for watching the video.